we've got all of the information that I'm going to give you tonight in one way or another out at dreamteamnow.com. I'm going to be very honest with you. This is one of those topics, you know, I tell people every now and then I get brutal on people. The funny thing is they think I'm brutal all the time. You know, I'm always amazed at how home inspection companies don't do sprinkler systems and or irrigation systems, as home inspectors like to call them. So it's one of those strange things that we're going to try to make sure that you have the availability to do. It is probably the easiest, simplest additional inspection that you can add, and there's some good money in it, and I'll go into that in just a second. So if you go out to dreamteamnow.com and you go over to resources, you can see it on my screen here, your screen probably. You can go all the way down to sprinkler systems. And if you click on that, then this page here opens up, and it gives some great stuff to you. I'm going to play a couple of little things here. I've got a gentleman watching me, and John, let me know if you can hear this or not. I did this years and years ago. I did it for Nachi.tv, as you can see there. And I went through how to do a sprinkler inspection. Let's just give you a taste of that real quick, and then I'll come back.
Bar right here tells me how many zones this system has, and you can count the wires. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of the 8 zones are wired, which means we probably are going to use 6 zones. And then of course we can put this back on here. The other thing is, most of the systems have a place in here for a battery backup to be put in. And if you want to, you can note whether there is one or is not one. I don't normally worry about that too much. Now, all you have to do on this system, you're going to love this. This is so simple. It's amazing why people don't do sprinkler system inspections. Is on this system, I'm going to push this button right here, and that is the manual start advance. And what it does is it will literally start the sprinkler system out there in zone 1. And then I'm going to go out here in just a second and see how that zone is doing. After I check that zone, I'm going to come back and I'm going to push this button again, and boom, now I'm going to go into zone 2.
All right, so you can see that video's out there, and I literally take you through a complete inspection of the sprinkler system. Now, this whole thing is only like 15 minutes long. If I took you will also see that there is just a little bit of me up front here talking and explaining why this is important and everything. So the whole thing is only 15 minutes long, okay? So it's pretty darn simple. And as if that were not enough, I decided to ask Jonathan to go out and take a look at the sprinkler system. Now, this is my house, and I was on vacation, so they installed the sprinkler box on the outside of my house because that was the easy thing for them to do. And it never even occurred to me that they would do that. 90%, 95% of all sprinkler boxes, you're going to find them in the garage. And I'll give you a taste of this one here just a little bit.
That for the purposes of this video. All right, first things first on a sprinkler system, the most important thing is when you're doing a full home inspection with a sprinkler system is that you need to do the irrigation system last, okay? When you do the irrigation system, you're going to be getting the sides of the home a little bit wet, and so it can mess up things like the shower is the big thing. If you're testing the shower and the shower is on an exterior wall and it leaks, then you want to check before you do the irrigation system, the sprinkler system. Beyond that, this gets pretty simple. The first thing we're going to do is locate the sprinkler box.
All right. So those 2 videos out there that will answer a lot of questions and tell you a lot of information. You've got me going through a sprinkler system. You've got Jonathan going through a sprinkler system. And then I've got some notes here for you. And the other cool thing is I tell you basically step by step how to inspect it here as well. And I even show you what we put on the report for the systems, and give you a little bit of that as well so that you can see that. I don't see it there, but I know that it is there somewhere. All right. So let me pull in the video or the PowerPoint that my team created for me today to be able to show you on this. And we're just going to go through some of the real basics, some of the most important things here. Sprinkler systems are, like I said earlier, probably one of the simplest services that you can add that can mean some big dollars to your bottom line and to you. And it isn't just the money that you get from sprinkler systems. It's the reason you want to do these systems on top of anything else. As I mentioned, we've got those 2 amazing videos out there, and they're out at dreamteamnow.com. This is a members only call, so all of you should have the ability to be able to get to those. If you don't, then send an email to dreamteam@mikecrow.com and let them know. The only way I could figure is if you couldn't get to it is if for some reason you haven't paid your money. Okay. Every now and then we have a member that hasn't paid, and they wonder why they can't get to the member website. So, there's always that piece as well. All right. So one of the things that I run into every time I talk about sprinkler systems, somebody goes, "Oh, you're talking about lawn irrigation systems," as if I've been calling it the wrong thing the whole time. Well, here's what I want you to know as a home inspector. We talk about, the client, your home buyers, and we talk about the customers or mavens or the people that refer you. And you have to understand, they don't call them lawn irrigation systems. They call them sprinkler systems, okay? And so it's very, very important to take a look at that. Hey, it looks like Dave has gotten himself unmuted there. Dave, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
Man, I am doing great. So tell me, go ahead, brag for a second. How's the weather in Wisconsin?
Today's the best day of the year, 88 degrees.
Oh my gosh, 88 degrees. I don't even want to tell you what it's like here. It's a little warmer than that, guys, I just want you to know, Dave has been a great guy. He's been doing a lot of great things. One of the things that when we help people, we always ask them if they'll be willing to help other people as well. Dave used to be president of one of the largest associations in the country. And then he started building his business. And so, Dave, you went from, a couple of inspectors, maybe 3 inspectors, to where are you at now?
No, it was just me. Then I went to, I have 6 inspectors now.
Oh, my goodness gracious, 6 inspectors. That means you're getting probably pretty close to that $1 million mark, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's always the goal, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. As silly as that may sound, you bet it is. Oh, goodness. So, Dave, have you guys done sprinkler systems before?
No, we never have. And I really haven't invested the time into actually doing them. So that's kind of why, I know the videos are on, but sometimes, Mike, I just miss your voice.
Oh, you're just melting my heart here, guy. All right, Dave, thank you so much for being on the call. All right, so guys, you got to know that people a lot of times will call this like lawn irrigation systems, but that's not what your home buyer's calling them. That's not what the real estate agents are calling them. They just call them sprinkler systems. And so it's better just to call things what people call them in the field instead of trying to use big fancy words. So how much money are we talking about here? The truth? Okay, there isn't that much money directly that comes from the sprinkler inspections themselves. However, the big thing is which homes typically have sprinkler systems. All right, I'm going to tell you, it's the bigger, nicer homes. Okay, and if they need this service and you don't offer it, well, I got bad news for you. They're going to call the next inspector on the list, or worse, the agent that refers you will never refer you again, okay, because you don't have this service. And I love my competition. I love your competition. Especially new guys that come into the business, this is one of the ways to make sure that you stay ahead of them, is that the new guys usually don't do like termite inspections or radon or sprinkler or swimming pool and other things. And you know what? The 95% out there, the 95% that I tell you to be aware of all the time tells them, oh, you don't need to do that service. And okay, you don't have to do it, but I mean, you really are setting yourself up for failure, because here's what I want you to know. This gives you a competitive advantage, especially if your competition doesn't offer this service. But I'm going to be even more brutal here for a second, okay? So a real estate agent, she's selling, let's say she's selling a $500,000 home, and it has a sprinkler system, okay? And maybe instead of dollars, I should use square foot. Let's say she's selling a 3,000 square foot home, maybe a 3,500 square foot home, and it has a sprinkler system. And the people go, well, I'd like to have the sprinkler system checked out too. Now that agent's going to have to either call somebody that does sprinkler inspections, and if you call somebody that services those, they're going to want to sell something, okay? They don't really normally just want to come out and do just that. which is one of the reasons home inspectors exist, is because we are that third party that's not selling repairs. We're giving them an unbiased opinion. So what happens is, if there is a home inspector that does the sprinkler system, and this could be you, okay, then what happens is you get a call from the agent. They go, hey, we've got a home and it has a sprinkler system, and I'd like to know if you can do the sprinkler system. Well, I can do the sprinkler system when we do a home inspection. Okay, great. And so they hire that guy. Now, I had one of our guys go out, and the agent literally met him out at the house. She goes, oh, man, I'm so glad you do sprinkler systems. And she said, you know, not most of my homes don't have sprinkler systems, and I'm looking for a home inspector that can be my luxury home inspector. Would you mind if I set it up so you could be my luxury home inspector? Because I really like the other guy I'm using, and he does a good job. And he went, yeah, sure, no, it's not a problem. And then about 3 months later, he noticed he was doing a lot of homes that did not have sprinkler systems. So he gave her a call and said, hey, I just wanted to know, just want to tell you thank you. We're enjoying working with your client. She goes, you know, I watched how you took such great care of my luxury homes that I decided, why am I not giving this kind of service to all, excuse me, all of our home buyers? And so she literally turned everything over to him. And the other inspector lost the business, and he probably doesn't even know why. And you probably have lost some business and you don't even know why. So there's one of the things there. So how much should you charge? Because really, it isn't about the dollars as much on the sprinkler system. And I'm going to tell you, when me and my dad started, we used to do these for free. If you haven't done these ever before, then offer to do them for free for, I don't know, 3 months, 6 months. At worst, you can tell him, and if I don't do a good job on it, I'll give you your money back for the sprinkler system. Okay, which would be nothing. Okay, but here's the thing: is after you've done a few of them, you start getting good at it. You start realizing that, hey, I can charge something for this. So charge, I don't know, charge $25. We have some of our members that are charging $125 to do the sprinkler inspections. The one that I love the most, and is that they say, oh, we charge $10 per zone. $10 per zone. So in that little video, you saw me say, oh, there's 6 zones here. It's wired for, it has 8 possibility, and it's wired for 6. Okay, so 6 of the 8 zones are being used. That would have been an extra $60 right then and there. I have to tell you, that's the one I like the most. All right, now in my area, and it will differ across the country. In my area, about 40% of the homes we inspect have sprinkler systems. And so if you kind of do the math, if a home inspector was doing about 400 inspections a year, that's kind of the normal amount that a single man can do. And by the way, I've done 600 plus a year, and I know some guys only do 200, but if you do 400 inspections a year and at 40%, that's 160. If you multiply that out times $25 each, that's a $4,000 raise, okay? Now, when I talk to someone like Dave, bless his heart, he's got 6 inspectors, okay? 6 inspectors, and let's say Dave's doing 2,000 inspections this year, okay? In Dave's area, because he's in Wisconsin, well, maybe only 20% of them have homes. 20% times that is still 400, okay? 20% of 2,000 is still 400 homes. And depending on what you want to charge, you could make some good money. Plus, it gives your inspectors some extra money as well. Now, you need to know, a lot of times when you have inspectors working for you, they go, oh, no, I don't do those. And here's what you say is, I perfectly understand that. That's not a problem. So here's what we'll do. We'll not send you on any homes that have sprinkler systems. We'll send those to this guy. Okay, and after a short period of time, they're going, well, wait a second, I'm not getting any of the bigger, nicer homes. Well, no, it's because they have sprinkler systems and you don't do those. And they wake up. Okay, so there's a couple of ways to work around that. Now, and so this is said wrong. So when to inspect the sprinkler system? That'll work. I was going to say, when do we inspect the sprinkler system? But when to inspect the sprinkler system? And you heard me say this. You heard Jonathan say this. You want to do this at the very beginning of the inspection? Absolutely not. I know some guys will get there early and maybe they can get to the control box, and so they do it at the beginning of the inspection. Don't do that, okay? You want to do this at the very end of the inspection. And trust me, after I've done 10,000 inspections, and I probably inspected, I don't know, a couple of thousand sprinkler systems, one of the things I found out was that if the shower leaked, they would go, oh, that's the sprinkler system. You tested that early. So you got to get rid of excuses that people want to, put on you. And so that's one of those things. So the reason you inspect it at the end is so that you can detect water leaks yourself. See, if there's a swimming pool and you're looking at the swimming pool and you ran the sprinkler system, well, now the water that's sitting around the equipment, is that from the sprinkler system or is that from the swimming pool? So we want to run the sprinkler system the very last thing. Now, in starting the sprinkler system, it's so easy. The control box is there. Nowadays, think about this. Nowadays, we have this thing called the World Wide Web. We can go out and look up any system, and you can say manual, and it will tell you how to run it through manual. You don't want to run it through its program. It would take way too long to do that. And so, like I said, it's usually inside the garage. Mine is on the outside of my house. I was on vacation when I had them install the sprinkler system. And so I could have had it moved, and I went, well, let's just see what happens. And you know what? It's never been a problem, not once. In fact, it's made it kind of easier because I've had people come and work on it, and they don't have to get in the house or the garage. And so I know we all want to kind of protect things. We're all a little paranoid. Trust me, I'm paranoid. Okay. But it turns out being on the outside of the house was no big deal. So I wouldn't make a big deal about it if you see it there. Get familiar with the control box. This is this is important. So let me slow down here for just a second, because this is like really important. Sprinkler systems have the ability to make you look completely stupid. Okay, so don't go get the home buyer and say, hello, let me show you your sprinkler box, and then try to run it. No, 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 no. Okay, test 1 or 2 of the zones, then you go get the buyer. Now, this is important. If the buyer's there with you, you do want to go get them and say, hey, let me show you your sprinkler control box. Let me show you how to run this through manual. You probably want to do this about once a month, just in case, to make sure that a sprinkler head hasn't been, mowed off or, or destroyed somehow by somebody running over it or something. And then I take them through it step by step by step by step through, in like the example I had there, all 6 zones. And it doesn't take very long. And the truth is, because all of the workings of the sprinkler system are hidden, you can't see them. The sprinkler heads are below the grass, below the dirt line. People get a real kick out of being able to see the heads pop up and water. Don't ask me why, but they get a real kick out of it, and I kind of get that. Are you ready for this? All right. So what goes in the report? Are you ready? This is the whole part that we put in the report. What is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. That's all we have to put into our report, okay? So lawn sprinklers, where the control panel is located, it's in the garage. If there are any problems with it, and by the way, probably 60%, 80% of them do have something wrong with them, we say see the notes under the optional systems on the addendum page, and that's where we write our notes. And this is important. Check boxes for front yard, backyard, side yard. One of the things that I've discovered is if you don't tell them that they only have front yard, they're going to think they have it in all the areas, and they're going to be a little bit disappointed in you. I have had inspectors make the mistake of checking front yard, backyard, and side yard to find out that the backyard did not have a sprinkler system. We bought somebody a backyard sprinkler system. Now, that only happens once or twice, and I do have money set up from my inspector, so if they make that kind of a mistake, then I get the money from them for that, okay? Let's see here. And then, of course, I note that the sprinkler controls are operated in manual mode only, so we're not testing the program itself, so that you can see that. So you notate where the control panel is. You add any comments that you want. And like I said, 60, 80% of the time, there's going to be some kind of a problem. And so you're going to write something up. You want to note the areas that the sprinkler system covers. And then pop open the interior box cover and count and note how many zones are wired. I showed you in that as part of the small video I showed you. I like to put on here, so when I say zones used, I say 6 of 8 in that particular case. I don't just say 6, okay? Because somebody will look and go, oh, there's 8 zones. No, no, no. It has the potential for 8, but they're only using 6. And so I found that very noteworthy for people. And then we note where the valve control box is. And usually in our area, that's out right next to the water meter. It could be in your part of the country. It could be like right up next to the house. So you want to note that and tell them where that is. And then we include the note, of course, about testing it in manual mode only. All right. continuing the sprinkler inspection, you want to get the buyer and show them how the system works. Walk them through as you progress the zones. Let them see it pop up and everything. They just love that. They love that, okay? And, you know, it will induce kind of a wow moment. And then, of course, this is the chance you get to use that script that I teach all of our members. It's in my book, you know, thank you for noticing. Wow, that was so cool. I've never seen a sprinkler system. I've never owned a sprinkler system before. Or, you know, and you go, well, you know, thank you for noticing. We want to make sure you have a great experience when you're working with us. And I kind of understand. That's why I went and got you so that you could see the sprinklers in action and everything. And then you do the Columbo, you turn around, you walk away about 2 steps, and you turn back around and say, by the way, could I ask you for a small favor? And they go, sure, yeah, what do you want? Well, you know, the agent usually only hears when something didn't go right or when there's a problem. And when you go back, she's probably going to ask you how the inspection went. We just let her know we did a great job for you. You might even let her, you know, man, I'm sure glad you hired someone that could do the sprinkler inspection, because you probably maybe don't realize this, but not all inspectors do that. We want to make sure that you're covered, and your agent wants to make sure you're covered. And so, you know, good referrals are what we live and die with. They go, yeah, absolutely. And they go back and they tell the agent, okay? Now, keep in mind, we're not testing the programming. I try to tell people that. I try to make sure they hear that. We're running it through a manual test only, okay? And then I tell them, test the system once a month for any damaged sprinkler heads. And so they get onto that whole part here. Now, turn on zone 1, walk the yard to find the zone. The order of the zones is usually like the front yard first, and then a side yard, the backyard, and then the other side yard. So it kind of like runs around the house, okay? So locate and examine each of the sprinkler heads in that zone. Usually all I have to do is go out there, take a look. If the heads are popped up, they're working, I'm back, and it doesn't take very long at all. So heads can be up against the house though, or they can be in the middle of the yard. And so there's some things there. You got a number of different types of heads out there. You got pop-up heads right up. If you see them spraying the house, you know, directly, you want to write that up. There are heads that are made to direct only, you know, like 180 degrees. So they only project halfway, not all the way around. And that's the kind that you want up next to the house. But sometimes when people replace a sprinkler head, they put in the wrong kind, okay? Then there's the rotating heads. And you want to write these up if they do not rotate properly. And so I usually have to stand there and count for 3 or 4 seconds. Okay, it's moving. And I love to see it hit the end and then start moving backwards, all right? And so that's kind of an important thing in that process, all right? Then you have the bubbler heads, and these are a lot harder to see and find sometimes. Generally, it's water for like a specific plant or a tree, flower bed or something. And you may not see these, and it makes it a little more difficult sometimes to see these. So if you turn a zone on, and I'll probably mention that here in a second, but if you turn a zone on and you walk all the way around and you can't find that zone, you want to go check the water meter, and you want to see if any water is running through the water meter. If there's water running through the water meter, hopefully you have everything shut off in the house, okay? But if there's any water running through that, you know water's going somewhere. And so you could go and shut that zone off, go check the water meter again, make sure it is for that zone, and then go turn it back on again. And the water's running through the water meter, go find it. If you can't find it, it's a simple write-up, okay? There are indications of water going through the water meter on zone 4 of the sprinkler system. Unable to determine location of zone 4. That's it. Let the seller or somebody tell them where that's at or whatever, or hire a sprinkler specialist to tell them, okay? And so sometimes you have soaker zones, kind of the same thing. And oftentimes a landscape or garden area, write it up if you can't locate where the water's running through the meter. It's that simple. So progress to the next zone, and then you repeat until all the zones have been identified and tested, all right? Now, here's some common write-ups. If a head's not putting out enough water, so there's low water flow, that's a write-up. It's pretty simple. And what happens sometimes is you might see 1 or 2 heads pop up, and then you might see some heads just bubbling water out around the head. That usually could indicate a line leak somewhere. And if you see that, it's a definite write-up. But if you see heads that are the pop-up type and they're not popped up, then it's a very good chance there's a water leak somewhere in the system, and you want to write that up. So, and if they had previously turned a head off, no water would be coming out of it, but the head would still pop up. So I have some in my yard on the side where there's not a lot of sun, and I turn those sprinkler heads like way down. So and I have the sprinkler system work like maybe 5 minutes, and that's it. That's all the water I want that area to get. But the heads still pop up, and you can still tell that there's actually good water flow. It's just been turned down. All right. And then there's too much water. Oh my goodness, too much water, especially if it's spraying in the air, or maybe it's spraying onto the street or whatever. Then you want to write that up as well. Water bubbling up from the ground anywhere around a sprinkler head is a write-up. And if you've gone through all the zones and an area of the yard is not covered, a side yard's not covered, a backyard's not covered, you want to make sure that you at least point that out to the folks. And in some cases, if it looks like it's supposed to be covered, then you want to make sure that you notate that. So that's part of it. Also, if you don't find the valve box or the backflow preventers, and you're looking for these, if you can't find them, that's a write-up, okay? It's a simple thing, and you should be able to find them, but if you can't find them for any reason, then you want to write it up. It's that simple, okay? If there's a damaged head, of course, we want to write that up. If a zone does not respond or you cannot find it, this is probably one of the things that really just takes me a few minutes to figure out if it's me doing something wrong or if it's something else. But I go to zone 2, I go to zone 3, I go to zone 4, and all of a sudden I don't have anything anywhere. I go check the water meter, there's no movement through the water meter. I go to zone 5, it works just fine. All right, so what the heck happened to zone 4? Well, there's these things called solenoids and things like that, and sometimes they just stop working. They're mechanical. And if a zone does not respond, then you simply write it up. Okay. Now, how long does a sprinkler inspection take? On average, guys, it takes about 30 seconds per zone. So if there's 6 zones, gosh, let me just be brutal. It might take you 5 minutes, okay? You know, once you test it, once you show it to the buyer a little bit, and you go through and maybe type up a few notes, maybe it takes you 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, okay? But even if it takes you 15 minutes, it's worth it, all right? And so that's kind of a cool thing. Now, I am going to set this up so I can take questions, this has been pretty simple, pretty straightforward. I warned everybody this would be a short call. This is a call for members only, so I'm not doing a big sales pitch or anything like that. I will tell you that if you are a gold member only, because I see that we do have some gold members out here, you should go out to Home Inspector Blueprint. In fact, let me see here. Whoops, I clicked off the page. You should go out to homeinspectorblueprint.com. and go sign up with us. Go get the Big Bang Marketing and learn how to go get some cool stuff done like that. Let me see here. There's some things going on in the chat. Let's see if anybody's there. Welcome to the webinar. Would you adjust a sprinkler head for the client if it's easy enough to do? And that is a great question, Drew. And the answer is yes, I would. Now, you need to understand that 95% of people are going to tell you, oh, you never do stuff like that. Well, they don't understand me at all. I do that sort of stuff all the time. So if a commode's really loose or something, I'll tighten it down if I can. If I can't, then I write it up, okay? I want you to understand that there's no problem, in my opinion, correcting a sprinkler head. The worst that could happen is you could damage it and it would just like blow off and somehow you might have to pay to have a sprinkler head fixed. Whoopee, okay? But the people would love the fact that I did that and took care of it. You know what I'd love to do is go down here. I'm going to just ask some of the people that are here. I'm going to start at the top with Carl, then go to Dave, then Drew, then Ethan. Just ask you what's one thing you learned off this call, and see if you have any questions here real quick. So we'll start with Carl. Carl, any questions? And maybe what's one thing you learned from the call?
I don't have any questions. I learned what's a good pricing range to provide this service for.
Yeah. And start out for free if you want. But my favorite is the couple up in Maryland, and $10 a zone. I just love that. I just think that's the coolest thing. And here's the other reason is you only really want to inspect the sprinkler heads around the immediate house. If there's 2 acres, I don't want to inspect the sprinkler zones for all 2 acres. I only want to do the parts that are around the house. So thank you very much. Dave, how about you? What's one thing you learned or any questions?
I don't have any questions, but counting, because I haven't really looked at them at all, but counting the wires to realize how many zones you have out there. And then, of course, what to report on, I guess the actual the amount of real estate in the report is going to take.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it? Oh my gosh, that's a lot of ink, my friend.
Right.
But you know, and we don't get paid a lot for those inspections. But the big thing is not losing our agents that we've worked so hard to, especially the best agents, you know, to some Yahoo just because he inspects sprinklers and we don't. So thank you very much for that. Let's see here. Drew, how about you, sir? What's one thing you learned off the call?
You answered my question about adjusting a sprinkler head if it's easy enough to do.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you. Ethan, how about you? What's one thing you learned?
Check the water meter.
Yep.
Didn't really think about that.
Yeah. And you know what? We're supposed to really check the water meter anyway. At least we do here in Texas. And so if the water meter's not doing what it's supposed to be doing and everything, then we want to try to make sure you know that we're lighting that up.
No, yeah, absolutely. I just didn't think about like doing the sprinkler system and checking it if I didn't realize that the sprinkler wasn't going up.
Yep.
Like going back and checking.
You bet. Let's see here. Going to Gunther, trying to unmute you. And I think I did it, but Gunther, I think you have to unmute yourself as well. And then going to John and Celia. So Gunther, how about you? What's one thing you learned off the call?
Well, most of these homes have a sprinkling system in them, especially the newer ones.
Yep, they most certainly do. And I'm sorry, you got a little feedback there. So, but I got it. You're absolutely right. Most of the homes have sprinkler systems, especially the newer homes and especially the nicer homes. So thank you very much for that. Let's see here. John and Cecilia Chittick out of, let's see, I want to say North Carolina. Is that correct?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. Good evening. I almost said good morning. Well, I actually, we've started, sorry, there's a lot of people, started to use a sprinkler system in our reports. We were charging 150, but I think we're going to change that. We're not getting as, I put them into the packages and I think I want to lower the prices based on this meeting. But I want to know, we've had people wanting us to draw the system out. What do you think on that?
When you say, are you like empty the system out of water?
No, like draw the plan. Like they're moving into the house and they have no idea where the...
Not a chance. Not a chance. Okay. They need to hire a sprinkler specialist to do that. And he's going to have to use some special equipment to do it. I could probably do it, but it's just way too much time. And the longer the system's been there, the more it's changed and the more things have grown over a different part. So in my yard, and I'm embarrassed to admit this, because when I put the sprinkler system in, I kept all the little solenoids, I kept them clear, and I made sure I could find them. I don't have a clue where any of those are anymore, okay? Because the grass has grown over all of that. So there's no way I'm gonna put pen to paper and draw out the system for them, okay?
All right, thanks, Mike.
All right, you bet. Let's see here. Going to Michael. And then Tommy Toe, and then Walter, and that's going to be it. Let's see here, Michael, giving you a chance to say hi. You have to unmute. And then Tommy, and then Walter, and then we're going to wind this call up. But it looks like all three of you are still muted, and so if you stay muted, then that's perfectly fine too. There we are. Walter's unmuted himself. Walter, how about you? What's one thing you learned on the call?
Yes, Mike. Hey, I'm here in Florida, and approximately more than 2/3 of the home inspections we do are homes here in the area have sprinkler systems. So yes, we provide that service, and we upsell it, or we basically show that the client is getting about $75 worth of value. But we do them, we include them with the full home inspection, and we do charge more because of all the things that we do. But I would just want to emphasize in a very important part that you had there, a point. That yes, you always want to make sure to, obviously you can operate it, but you look for the control panel, and then on sprinkler systems that are on a public water supply rather than a well pump, that you do identify if it has the backflow device. The backflow preventer obviously prevents cross-contamination, and in most parts of the country, even here, that it's wrapped with insulation to prevent it from freezing during the cold months of the year.
Yeah, and if you don't find it, boy, that's a write-up. Just because of the simple part of that whole is. And once you learn what you're looking for and what they look like and everything, it's a piece of cake like everything else. And just like I was saying that sometimes where the solenoids would be have been grown over with grass in my area, a lot of times we find that the backflow box has grown over with grass too. And so it takes a little bit extra effort. I know you probably don't have that problem as much in Florida, but you are also right, though, that in Florida, you know, and when I go to Florida, like almost every inspector inspects sprinkler systems. But when I go to Wisconsin or parts of Texas even, or other things, California even, they don't inspect them. And so because it is such a big thing down there in your area, a lot of people do. Walter, thanks for being on the call tonight.
You're welcome.
All right, Tommy, you are like the last one, my friend. What's one thing you learned off the call, or any questions?
I have no questions. I always inspect sprinkler systems, and I've used a $25 upcharge. But I love the $10 per zone, because with larger homes, and I have a lot of large homes on the Gold Coast here, you get those 6 or 8 zone systems, and you will spend some time, and they're invariably, they have problems.
Yep,
and
invariably.
Yes.
Yep.
And the homeowners absolutely love the fact that you know what you're doing and you can show them all those zones.
They love that.
They love it.
I have never truly figured out the fascination. I will tell you, when I bought my first house and it had a sprinkler system and I went through it myself, I went, that is like super cool. And so I kind of felt it. But, you know, I mean, they really just get such a kick out of seeing those heads pop up and water the yard. I guess they realize they're not going to have to do it anymore themselves. So anyway.
And the other thing is, always do it at the end, because you never want to walk into, you know, especially if it's a nicer home, you don't want to walk in with dirty feet. Even if you have your booties, once they get wet, it's just, everything's a pain. So it's always best to do it at the end. If you're messy, then you can get in your vehicle and leave.
There you go. Well, guys, I knew that this would be a simple phone call tonight. This is a members only phone call. If you're a gold member and you have not gotten the Big Bang Marketing, have not gotten Dream Team yet, go out to Home Inspector Blueprint. We have all kinds of resources like this on different things that you can do, different ways that you can make more money. And it's really a pretty simple, pretty straight process. I do want to tell everybody thank you for being here tonight. I have to tell you, I love having the opportunity to talk with members and help them do some cool stuff. Keep an eye on the Mastermind Inspector community. We are in the process of doing some really cool stuff as we move forward. Keep an eye out for that, and just be successful, guys, and be around those that are successful. The more money you make, the more people you can help. And the more you're around successful people, the easier it is to be successful. You guys have a wonderful night. I'll talk with everybody again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
Enjoyed it.
I love you guys. Thanks so much. I love it when people say goodbye.